Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name's Joe. Today I'm going to be doing a playthrough of the game Stout Hearts, designed by Jay Ward and published by Tiny Battle Publishing. This is a game that covers basically a British battalion's attack in the Hedgerows of Normandy in the immediate aftermath of the D-Day invasion, obviously taking on the Germans. I did do a video, basically a first look, where we looked at the game's components and so on, talked about how it works in general terms. So if you're interested in kind of a background on the game, how it works and everything, you might want to check that one out. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of go right into this and play the game and show you how it works and all that stuff. And so we're going to get underway right now. All right, so we're going to start with setting up the game, obviously. So the first thing we have to do is determine our company strength points. So it says right here, roll 1d6 on the following table for each company and place the company marker on the company strength point track on the result. So with 1, you get 6 strength points and it's depleted. 2 or 3, 7 strength points average. 4, 8 reinforced. 5, 9 strong, and 6, 10 strength points, full strength. So that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to roll the dice, or die rather, one time for each of the 4 companies that are in the 5th Wessex here. And then once we're done with that, we will be moving on to our next setup point. Okay, so we're ready to roll. I've got my trusty D6 here. So we're looking for high. We want to roll 6s, 5s, things like that. We don't want to roll 1. 2 and 3 would be okay, but 4 and better would be just that, better. So we rolled a 4 for company A, so that would be 8 points. So I'm going to put that here. Company A has 8 strength points. Company B gets a 5, and a 5 is strong, so B will go here. 9 strength points. Now company C gets another 5, so far so good. And now company D rolled a 6, so that's outstanding. That's really good rolling. I did not expect to get that. So we have 2 with 9 strength points, 1 with 10, 1 with 8. The way I had set up originally, I have A here on the left, B in the center, C on the right, and D in reserve. I'm going to leave it that way. That way, if I do need to, commit the reserves to the battle, they'll come in full strength, 10 strength points, and hopefully pack enough punch to help us succeed in our mission. Okay, so the next thing we're supposed to do is plan our artillery barrages, and it says to write it down on a separate piece of paper. What I'm going to do, actually, is I'm going to use the stonk counters, and I'm going to put them on the game turn track to denote where I'm doing it. Now, you have to have 2 turns between each one. So if I did, say, 3, I couldn't do another one until 6. And then if I did one on 6, I couldn't do another one until 9. And they all have to be used by 15. So I'm going to do... probably do turn 3, turn 7, and turn 11. So I'll just put them there. Once we hit them, I'll know to pull that off. We'll do the barrage, then I can put them back on there. After that, we have to marry up our tank platoons with our infantry. So we have 4 here, or actually there's more than 4. There's 5 Churchill platoons, so we'll put 1, 2, and 3. And then for each one, you have to roll. And if you roll a 5 or a 6, they don't actually make it to the start line. So we rolled a 3 for 1, so it's there and ready to go. We rolled a 6 for 2, so he did not make it. And 3... we rolled a 5, so he didn't make it either. So we did have good rolls on the strength, but bad rolls on the tanks. Okay, so next we roll for weather. So 1 to 4, we get clear. 5 will be mist until turn 2, and 6 will be mist until turn 3. So hopefully we get luck. 2, so no mist. So that's good. So we have clear weather. So now we have to check for our FUP, which is the forming up place. So this is it right up here. The forming up place events. 1 to 3, 1 platoon becomes static. Oh, I'm sorry. First you roll to see if there's an event, and an event happens on 5 or 6. Then you would roll again to see what that event is. So we'll roll for Company A first. We rolled a 3, so no event. Company B, we rolled a 1, no event. And Company C rolled a 3, no event. No news is good news in this event. Okay, game turn marker on turn 1. Victory point marker on 0. Okay, so I made a quick change down here. I actually took the stonk counters off because you need those for the barrage. There's 5 of them. You get 5 targets. So I whipped out some blank counters, courtesy of Spruance Leader. And I've got a whole bag full of them because there were quite a few, actually, of that in that particular game. So I am going to now put out the German forces. So what we do here is for German deployment, there are 36 total units. They get put into 3 separate pots, basically, and that's all off camera. But what you do is you go in and you pull them out and you put them in these colored areas. So there are 3 defense lines. There's the outpost line, which is here. Then you have your main line of defense, which is yellow. These are blue, yellow. And then these kind of reddish colored here are the reserve line. So you pull out randomly from the pot enough units to cover these spots. So we will need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from our pot A. So let's see, we got 1, 2, and you put them out with the German cross facing up, and then once they're revealed by a British unit becoming adjacent to them, you flip them over. So 3, 4, 5, and 3 more. 6, 7, 8. So we don't know what any of these are. And then we take from B, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 for B. So now the third defense line, C, has 5 spots. So we only need 5 counters for it. So we'll start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, some of these units, when they're revealed, they'll have a letter on them. So some of these A's might have a letter B on them. And that means once they're eliminated, they actually go into the B pile and are available to be drawn. Because the way the game works, and I explained this a little bit in the setup, or the first look video, rather, you get... Germans have counterattacks, so once you complete your attack, they can then counterattack. That was kind of the way German doctrine worked in the war. Was, they would kind of try to determine the main line of thrust by the enemy, and then once they knew that, they would, depending on the importance of the positions that they had lost, they would counterattack to, a degree appropriate to the importance of that position to try to recapture it. Okay, so normally when you start a turn, you start with the battalion headquarters phase, but in turn 1, you don't actually start with that. So we'll see that in turn 2, but in turn 1, what we start with is the barrage phase if we were having a barrage, which we are not. So then we would go to the company headquarters phase. Okay, so with no company activities, you could use your company to, if we had events that made any of our platoons static or the company HQ itself static, you would then be able to use the activation action of your headquarters to activate those, but that's not applicable here. So we're just going to go to the platoon phase. We'll take platoon company A, and we'll leave our major here, the commander of company A. He's going to stay with platoon 7, and they'll deploy here. Our tank will deploy with platoon 8, and platoon 9 will deploy all by its lonesome there. Then we'll do company B, same basic scenario. The major will deploy with the first platoon, the 10 platoon in this case. 11, we don't have a tank, so 11 and 12 will deploy by themselves. The tanks did not make it to the start line for those two. And then company C, same thing. I'm actually going to put the commander for C in the middle. And so now we are deployed. So now we have to talk about things like line of sight and line of communication and zone of control and so on and so forth. So when a German unit is unrevealed, we don't know what it is, it has a zone of control that extends 3 hexes. And then it's also subject to, like line of sight will impact whether or not that zone of control actually takes place, because it doesn't go through blocking terrain. All right, so here's how this works. So we're going to move, because we're in the zone, the zone of control, line of control, I guess, of zone of control rather, of the Germans here. If you move within 2 hexes of them, you have to do a check to see if you become static or not. So here's the thing, okay? This guy is visible because line of sight, right? This one is actually at level 2. This is level 2 terrain. This is level 1 terrain. And I believe, yes, the hedged fields, which is what these guys are on, that's a hedged field. That is a stone farmhouse, which is actually level 2. And that is woods, which is also level 2. So these two actually give defensive bonuses as well. So that's kind of a problem. But what we're going to do here is we're going to say that this guy's going to stay put. I'll move this one up. Okay, and because he moved, he now has to check to see if he becomes static or not. So the way that works is you roll, and 1 and a 2, no effect. 3 and 4, it's static, and if that happens, I'll explain what that means. 5 and 6, we reveal the German, the nearest German. So I'm going to say the nearest one is the one straight ahead, even though this one's 1 hex away, and that one's 1 hex away as well. So I'm going to roll here, and we rolled a 5, so we have to reveal the German. So we flip them over, and it's actually a blank. It's actually a blank, which means no unit. So we remove this, and it has a B on it, so it has to go into the pot for B. Okay, so it goes into the pot for B. So no effect here. These guys are moved up. They can only move 1 hex because they're in a zone of control. Now this one can move up as well. Now that's woods. So if he moves here, he has to assault this position. Woods gives you a defensive bonus. Here on the back of the rule book is the terrain chart. So you can see defensive modifier +1. So just for the sake of showing the game, I'm actually going to do it. I might be a little bit more cautious in general, only because, you know, next turn I can use this guy for suppression fire, try to suppress this unit and then assault it. But, you know, time is of the essence, so we do need to move up. So I'm going to move him up here. Now he has to assault this guy. So what happens is we actually have to, we would roll for suppression if we had suppression fire. We don't. You have to be within 2 hexes. This unit is further than 2 hexes away. And so really there's nobody around. Like this one is really the only one that could do that, but he already used his action to move. So we move to just flipping this guy over to see what it is. So it's infantry. Strength is 2. Our strength is 3. Okay, so now you gotta add everything up here. So we had the combat values of the assault, so that's 3. Then any assets directly supporting it, which is none. Then any support fire, also none. We deduct 2 for any enemy position adjacent that is occupied, which there aren't any. So we don't deduct anything. We're still at 3. And then we roll a die and we add that to the number. So we rolled a 1. So we have a 4. So our value is 4. Now the German value is 2. And he gets the terrain. So +1, it's now a 3. And then you deduct 2 if he's suppressed, which it's not. And then we roll a d6 for him as well. And we rolled a 4. So he's a 7. He's a 7 and I'm a 4. So that's a -3 or greater, which is assault failed, British casualties, 2 strength points, assaulting units and assets become static and are retreated 1 hex. So he has to go back. Now we flip him to the other side. This is the static side. So that reduces his strength. And he's static, which means that he has to be rallied by his company headquarters next turn. So that went really badly, mainly because I rolled a 1. If I had rolled, a 6, then I would have had 9. He would have had 7. That would have been a +2, and the assault would have actually been a success. So that's kind of how that works. You add all the factors together, have a dice off basically, and that determines the result of the combat. So now we'll move to Company B. So Company B has an interesting situation because they don't have any tanks or anything. So what we could do is say we can have this guy do suppression fire on here and then have this guy move up and assault it. So that's what we'll do. We're going to have suppression fire here. And so we'll move him up. Now the way suppression fire works is you look at the combat value and basically you use that. So, and usually you would want to have more, the more strength you have, the better, the higher the chance of success is. I actually need to roll a 1 to suppress this guy with this one because his strength is only a 3. So I need to roll a 1, which I probably won't. I rolled a 2, which is pretty close, but no cigar. So he's not suppressed, so we flip him over. It's an infantry unit 3. He's in this is hedged text. It's a hedged hex. It's considered open. No terrain bonus. So he's a 3, I'm a 3. So we do the same thing again. Basically, I don't have anything, but I deduct 2 because of this unit is adjacent. So that's going to make my strength a 1. And now I rolled a 6, so I have a 7. So that's pretty good. I have a 7. So now he starts at a 3. He gets no terrain bonus. And he's not suppressed. If he was suppressed, we would reduce him by 2. But not suppressed, so he's a 3 plus whatever he gets on here. And I have a 7. And he got a 2. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So 7 minus 5 is 2. So that's a +2. Now if we look at the attack chart here, here's our attack chart. +1 or 2 is a success. We will roll a die to see. And if we roll a 4 or higher, we'll lose a strength point. And then the outcome is assaulting units and assets become static. German unit eliminated, advance after combat. So we need to roll our die here. And I had to reduce my other guy by 2. That was company A, and his strength was 8, so he's down to a 6. And if I roll a 4 or higher, B will lose 1. And I rolled a 4, so B loses 1. He becomes static. This guy's eliminated. And he has a B, so he's going to go into the B pot. He moves up here, and he's static, like so. Okay, so that's the way combat works in the game. Pretty straightforward. Now, we will move on to our third company, Company C. So Company C, this one's actually in a little bit of a better position, even though we still have no support because both tanks for B and C companies failed to deploy. But if we move I'm going to leave my major here, and I'm just going to move this unit up. And we're going to fire these 2 guys to suppress this unit. And he's also in hexed terrain, so he gets no terrain bonus. So what we'll do here is we're going to flip this guy over. So, okay, so that's an anti-tank gun, actually. So we have 6 points of suppression fire. So that gives us a chance to suppress on a 1 or a 2. And we got a 2, so he's suppressed. So he's going to get a -2 on his strength point. Now, how do you read this 1/3? Okay, so our anti-tank gun here, the 1/3, he defends 1 against infantry, 3 against a tank. Now, if there was a tank within 3 hexes and line of sight, he would attack it as soon as he was revealed. But we don't have one, so it actually benefited us in this instance to not have that tank, to have our tank not make it to the start line in time for our attack here. So he's going to start at a 1, but he gets a bonus. He's going to get a bonus of 2 for each of these guys, so he's going to get a +4. So he's actually a 5. So he's a 5. He's a 5, but he loses 2 for being suppressed. So that makes it a 3, and then we're going to attack with a 3. So basically, we're starting off pretty well even. So we'll roll here. We rolled a 5, so that's an 8 for the attacker. And now we roll for the German, and we get an 8 as well, so that's even. So even is assault failed. We roll 1 die. A 3 or greater will be a 1 strength point loss. The assaulting unit becomes static. So he's going to become static. And we're going to roll our die, and if we get a 3 or higher, they lose a strength point, which they did. So Company C goes down to an 8. So a little bit of a mixed bag, probably more bad than good, I would say, for turn 1. So now we would go to the German counterattack phase. Since they lost a position, they actually get to counterattack. So the counterattack phase, for every German position that has been taken in the current British operations phase, roll 1d6 on the table to check if a German counterattack takes place. So here's our chart. Here's our table. So we're going to roll on this table. Based on this, what we get. So we're in outpost. So a 3 or 4 is a mortar attack. A 5 or a 6 is a counterattack. So 1 or a 2 would be nothing. So we'll roll. We got a 5, so that's a counterattack. So with a counterattack, you roll 1d6 to establish the number of counterattacking units. 1 to 3 is 1, 4 to 6 is 2. We got a 3, so that's 1 unit. So we pull that out of the A pot. We place it in an unoccupied hex adjacent to the position, closest to the German map edge, which is this one. So we're going to put it here. And so once they're deployed, we have to flip this over. Okay, so we have to look at the table, because there's a table of German units here in the back. And if there's, so effect, combat units attack and defend with combat value adjusted for terrain. So his terrain is actually open, and this is open as well. So there's not going to be any impact from that. And then what we do next is we roll the die. He got a 5, so his attack value is a 7. Now for the British, you add the combat value of the unit. It's a 2. Check unit characteristics. So there isn't anything for that, so we don't get anything there. Deduct 1 if the platoon is static, which it is, so it gets a 1, and now we roll. So we need a 6 to be even. We got a 2, so that's a 3. So that's a -3. It's a +3 for the German. Position lost, retreat 1 hex, and go static. So they move back, advance the German unit into the hex. If there's a second German unit, remove that from the map. There was not. So he's moved up, and he's now recaptured that position in the outpost line. We didn't lose anybody casualty-wise. So none of these positions down here count as victory positions. You see these little British symbols here, the little bullseye-looking British symbols. This is the bacon line for objectives, and this is the eggs line up top for objectives. So these are worth 3 victory points each, and these are worth 5. So obviously we have to get through this area first before we get to that area. So that would end turn number 1. So we would move to game turn 2. And so you start with the battalion headquarters phase. Okay, so battalion and company headquarters actually can provide additional support to fire for assaults and so forth. So one of the things your battalion headquarters can do, and here's our lieutenant colonel here, is he can actually deploy himself to a company and then help them, fight, or he can stay back in the headquarters here and do more things. So basically you have kind of the choice of having him help with the combat itself, or maintain a support role where he can basically help deploy assets out to the companies. So if I were to say, so I'm not going to move him onto the battlefield. He's going to stay out here. He can also deploy your reserves, or attempt to. You have to actually roll to see if they get the order to move out or whatnot. But I'm going to deploy. I'm going to put my 2 tank platoons out here, and I'm going to also deploy the forward observer, Fu. I like to call it Fu Ra. We're going to deploy him out there to Company A. So Company A will get the forward observer. B is going to get the tank, second tank platoon, third tank platoon will go to Company C. 4 and 5 will stay back. I also have 3 anti-tank sections and 2 heavy machine gun sections. Now, each company can control 3 onboard assets, or 2 offboard assets, I believe. So right now, Company A has 1 because it already has a tank. So deploying the Fu would give them 2, and then each of these 2, if they deployed the tanks, would get a 3. Would have 1 rather. I had 3 in my head because I know if I deploy this tank to Company C, they have an anti-tank gun, and his defense will go up to a 3 if the tank is involved in the assault. So that takes care of the battalion headquarters phase. So now we will go to barrage if there was one, but there isn't. The barrage is going to happen in turn 3. So the next thing is company headquarters phase. So activation. All right. So each of the 3 companies has a static platoon right now. We need to fix that. So over here, you can see what you need to roll to activate the platoon, and it's based on their strength. So it gets progressively more difficult to rally your men if they've taken extra damage and their strength is low. You can see you need to roll a 6 if your company strength is down to 1. But if your company strength is 6 or higher, you can activate on a 3. So we'll roll for our major here is going to roll to activate the ninth platoon here, or I guess I shouldn't say activate. I should say rally static infantry platoons. So that's what we're actually doing. I was saying activate. Activate is something different. Activate is actually if the company headquarters itself is static, which he's not. So we're going to roll here to rally our static infantry platoon. So we need a 3 or higher. We got a 4, so he's rallied. So he goes back to his active side. Now we do the same here. Well, actually, I should probably do the rest of my actions, because you can do as many actions as you want with your company headquarters. So we're going to take our forward observer and we're going to drop him in here with our commander. Oh, I forgot to roll for bringing the foo. I need to roll a 3 or higher, and I rolled a 2. All right, so foo stays back. Foo stays back. I can still call for fire, but it becomes a lot more difficult. So we're going to call for mortar fire, which makes our suppression harder to get, but we have a more successful chance of actually getting the call in. So we're going to call for mortar fire, and we rolled a 3, which is good. It's 1 to 4 is a successful mortar fire call. Now we need to roll a 1 or a 2 to suppress this guy. And we got a 6. So that failed. So he's not suppressed. And now we would move on to, I guess I'll do Company B next. So our major for B here, he's going to bring up or attempt to bring up our Churchill tank. Rolled a 6. So we roll a 6. That's good. He comes forward, and we'll stack him with 11th platoon here in the middle. Now we'll try to activate this guy. So this is Company B. They're 8 strength, so we need a 3. And we got a 6. So he is also activated. Okay, now we'll attempt to call in an artillery strike this time. We don't have the foo, obviously. The foo would have been over here anyway. So I'll need a 2 or a 1. And if I get it, then we can try to suppress this guy. Got a 1. So that worked out really well. That's a 1. So now, actually, I needed a 1 or 2. Now I can suppress on a 1 through 4. And I got a 6. Great. Okay, so failing to suppress again. Things not going all that well. We'll move on to Company C. So we're going to attempt to bring our Churchill up. Roll the 6, so the Churchill's coming up. We'll put him here. And now we'll roll to try to activate this guy, also in the 3 range. Roll the 6, so he's active. And we'll give it another shot as far as trying to suppress here. So we will suppress with, we'll try artillery again, and probably won't get a 1 or a 2 this time. We got a 2, so we got it. Now we need a 1 to 4. We rolled a 5. So 0 for 3 on trying to suppress the enemy here. So we're going to have to go with what we've got, I guess. So this time we have a little bit of an advantage. So we're going to try this again. We're going to move him up. And we're going to actually, you know what? I'm not going to move him up. I'm going to move them up. I'm going to move these guys up. Right here. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll move him here. Now he would have to assault both of these, but we'll do that. Because I can use these guys to suppress here, or I could just assault with these two, because I get a bonus for assaulting with him. They're not in good defensive terrain. Let's do that. We're going to move him up as well. So we're going to have 2 assaults here. This guy will fire in support of this one here. So we'll do this guy first. Okay, so we should know how this works now. We get a 3. Now we have a 3 here. Well, we roll for suppression first. Sorry. You have to roll for suppression first. So rolling for suppression, 3. We need to roll a 1. We rolled a 6, so no suppression. So now we're going to roll for our attack. We have the tank platoon. If we look at our British units here, here's our, where is he? Tank platoon here. Infantry tank platoon. 3 Churchill Mark 7 infantry tanks with a 75mm medium velocity gun. Doubles combat value of stacked infantry platoon and suppression fire, supporting fires, and assault. So he's going to double my unit's combat value to a 6. So he's a 6 attacking a 2. We didn't get suppression, unfortunately. So we have, let's see, we have the combat value is a 6. Any assets directly supporting, we have that. So that's already in there. So it's 3 double to 6. Any units are providing support fire? No. Deduct 2 from the British attack strength total. For each enemy position adjacent, there isn't one. Oh, or not subject. It actually needs to be, I screwed this up. You deduct the 2 if the attacker is adjacent to another German, not if the defender is. So this over here, I screwed myself over the last time. I think it was this one. I did that wrong because there is nobody else adjacent to this unit. So that attack probably would have worked a little bit better if I had done it right the first time. But no use crying over spilled milk. That's why we do this, to learn. So we're at 6. We're still at 6. We would be deducting 2, except that this guy's assaulting him, so we're not deducting 2. And then we would go to our roll. So 6 plus whatever we get here is a 1, so we got 7. About as bad as you can get. Okay, so he's got a +1, so he's going to be a 3 to start from terrain. So 2 plus 1 for the terrain, and then we roll. And he got a 4, so that's a 7, so it's a 0 again. That's an assault fail. We roll. We got a 2, so it's not a loss of a strength point, so that's good. But he does get staticized. So they both get static. Yes, assaulting units and assets static. So they're both static now. I can't win, man. I can't win. All right. So now we have this guy assaulting here. So let's flip him over. Okay, so it's a German infantry unit. It's a machine gun unit, I guess, technically. So let's look at what that means. So the German with the machine gun. Okay, effect, combat unit attacks and defends with combat value adjusted for terrain. So no adjustment for terrain there from him. Now here on our British side, if you look at the company headquarters here, effects, adds 1 to die roll in assault combat or defense against counterattack. So we're going to get a +1 to the roll. Doesn't add to the strength, but he adds 1 to the die roll. So we have 3. We get no bonuses or anything. I think it's just 3, and we roll. All right, so we're going to roll our die. We rolled a 4, so 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So we have an 8 on the attack side. The Germans get no bonuses, so they're just a straight 3 plus this roll, which is 6. 9, 8 minus 1, so we lose a strength point again. Now we're down to 5. And we go static. Oh my lord. Can I roll any worse? All right, so we go to B. I think what we'll do is we'll move him up. Then we have to roll to check to see if he goes static. So 1 and 2 is nothing. 3, 4, he gonna become static. 5, 6, we reveal that German. 6, so he gets revealed, and it's an infantry unit. All right. So now we're going to do our attacks here. So support. We're going to do support this time. I've been taking a beating, and I want to try and salvage something here. So this unit will support this unit, not suppress, support. So 3, we're going to start with 3, and then we're going to get another 3. And I think, yeah, it doubles in support. So that's going to be 6 plus 3 is 9. So 9 before, yeah, so 9. We're going to roll our die. We got a 5. So we have 14. They have 2. And they don't get a terrain bonus. And they got a 6, so 8. So that's a plus 6. So this is actually going to be good. So we get success, no losses, German unit eliminated, advance after combat. So he goes away, and he advances. So we are doing okay right now. That one worked out okay. No losses, thankfully. We will get a counterattack most likely, but we'll deal with that as it comes. Now this one, we will just go, he's going to support, this one will support, this one will support. So we've got, and we're going to move this up too. So now we're going to have, so we have 3. We'll add 1 to the die roll for the major. And then 6, and then 6 more. So, I mean 3. So 3, 6, 12. And then we add 1 to the die roll. So let's see what we got here. We got a 6. So that's 18. They're defending at 3 because of the tank. So they defend at 3. Roll the 1, so that's a 4. So he's going to get eliminated. They're going to move up. And that's it. So now we go to German counterattack. So we'll start here. So we roll for them to see if they get a counterattack. Again, we're in outpost. So 1 or 2 is nothing. 3 or 4 is a mortar attack. 5 or 6 is a counterattack. It's a 1, so that's nothing. Nothing here. We'll try this one next. That one's a 4, so that's going to be a mortar attack. So the way a mortar attack works, taken position is mortared, roll 1d6. If the result is 5 or 6, your unit and any accompanying asset or HQ becomes static. If it's already static, they would retreat. Rolled a 4, so no effect. So something finally went my way. That will wrap up. Oh, I was supposed to check flank progress. You have these flank counters, which I haven't put out yet because they start off board. So you're supposed to roll your die. And on a roll of 1 or 2, you get no movement. 3 to 5, advance 1 hex. So we're going to put this guy here. And that was for turn 1. And this one is a 6, which is actually 2 hexes. So he's over here. So this is a kind of like a timer, essentially. You want to get, through all of this before they reach the top, basically. It's kind of a timing mechanism. So that was turn 1. Here's turn 2, 4, which is 1. And for the other one, a 4, also 1. Okay, so that's the situation at the end. So I think I'm actually going to wrap it up. We're getting close to being a long video, longer than I typically like to have. I think you've got an idea of how this works. So I'm going to halt here. I'll do a part 2 of this. So hopefully we can get through a few more turns. I don't know that I'll do the entire playthrough because that would probably take maybe 3, 4, 5 videos to do that. I'm not sure you guys are really would probably want to see that all the way through. Maybe you would, but my guess is probably not. because once you get a feel for how the game plays, that's probably what at least this is my opinion, that's probably what the audience is most interested in. And feel free, if that's incorrect, to let me know in the comments, and I'll take that into account. Because I'm kind of like trying to go for more of a play example rather than like doing full playthroughs, so that I can show you guys more games as opposed to fewer games and more of the same thing, essentially, I guess, is my mindset. Anyway, going to wrap it up now. So we will pick this up with game turn number 3 in the next video, and then go through a few turns. You'll get to see an artillery barrage. That'll be different, or it's something we have not seen yet. And then we'll move on and kind of pick things up. And I actually have exactly 5 German units, so I can drop artillery on all 5 of them. So that's nice. And then hopefully we'll get into the areas where we start picking up victory points and stuff. And I think things will speed up as I go, because I won't have to explain everything so much. And I'm still kind of reminding myself of rules and everything as we're going along. And obviously I screwed up over here on turn 1 with the German defense being a lot tougher than it should have been. So yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you as always for watching. I appreciate it. Please consider liking and sharing, or sharing. And even better, please consider subscribing if you have not already done so. And if you have, I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. So until next time, my name's Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered. And until next time, happy gaming.